Hey everybody, and welcome to the CineFix Top 100, the pitch-perfect send-up of Connery-era Top 100s that we're bumbling our way through until we've seen 100 or so of the greatest movies of all time. I'm clearly an idiot, Clint Gage, and joining me as always, the Pharaoh's niece, Alex Stedman. How's it going, Alex?
Hello.
And of course, the horse's eye through which we seem bigger than we are, Michael Calabro. Guys, how's the veal stew?
How is the veal stew?
It is good.
It's good if you like meat, I think.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
How's the borscht?
Good.
I gotta say, I didn't fully understand the whole veal stew bit, but we'll talk about it.
I
get it was like a code word.
You know,
I get
it's
it.
spycraft.
It was silly. Yeah.
Still alone against the world here in season 3. Just us against the ever-growing power of Dan's algorithm. You guys hanging in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this season's a wild one, I feel. Like, I think we've talked about, like, I feel like I was an easy mark for a lot of the season 2 movies, and this season's a little trickier, but it's been an interesting crop, I feel.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Uh-huh. No, we've had some good ones.
We've had some good ones.
Good
Just going to back into
not
an
Uncut
interesting
Gems. That's
crop.
not the good one, all right?
An interesting crop does sound so unflattering. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, that's the right way to not say anything about it.
That's like when a teacher doesn't like her class of students, and someone's like, "How's the year going?" Oh, it's like, I got an interesting crop of kids.
Literally,
this year.
no, that's like what they would say.
That's what they would
crop.
say. Yeah.
It's been an interesting crop. What can I say?
Yeah.
Well, at least out of the interesting crop, the one highlight that we can all agree on, we got a T-shirt.
Rip.
That is true. We did.
No,
partially.
It's Uncut Gems adjacent. But
partially.
Before we get to
we
get to the movie we're talking about today, this is your weekly reminder, dear viewer, to remind everybody in your life that this is how you win with CineFix's Ikiru Uncut Gems mashup T-shirt, available at the link in the description. It's going to be a limited time. I think it's only going to be available through the end of this season. So get them while you can.
Get them while you can. You know, there's going to be Christmas stockings around. Moms love this T-shirt. Clint's mom loves the T-shirt. So, you know, just...
moms love this T-shirt.
Moms, aunts.
But let's get into the movie this week. Let's go ahead and get started because I do feel like I might have my work cut out for me this week because we are watching OSS 117, Cairo, Nest of Spies. So this film came out 2006, directed by Michel Hazanavicius, starring Jean Dujardin and Bernice Bejo, who a few years later, that trio would direct and star in Best Picture winner, The Artist, which is probably where most people would know these folks from. But
Which
it's the exact
saying
same
a
crew.
lot.
I'm not an artist hater. I've never rewatched it,
I really loved that movie too.
I love that you say loved, as in not in the present tense. Like for a moment, I
got over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of
people... No, but I do...
Yeah.
I was just sort of giddy when it won the Best Picture, but I do understand why everybody got so mad about that winning Best Picture. It was just kind of a whatever year for movies, I guess, and those French people were just charming enough to sneak in there and win it, I guess. But
also, there's a cute dog.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? A cute dog and James Cromwell? Are you kidding?
Come on.
Like that's clearly
it's Oscar
apparently
campaign done.
I just want to know what The Artist beat that year. Just because now I'm morbidly curious.
I was actually thinking about it earlier. I have it handy right here. You want to know?
Yeah, I do.
The other nominees were The Descendants.
Okay.
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. The Help.
Wow.
Hugo. Midnight in Paris. Moneyball. The Tree of Life, and War Horse.
Oh my God.
2 of those movies I have an immense amount of respect for.
That's a rough
year. That is the field that The Artist won. It doesn't feel like nobody won it by default, and so they were like, I'm giving it to the one that made me grin.
I don't know. Listen, I guess it's not much of an argument for to win Best Picture, but like Hugo, I think, in my humble opinion, is maybe the best 3D movie I've ever seen.
I don't disagree, but yeah, not a great argument for Best Picture.
Low bar.
Moneyball was good.
Right.
Yeah, I love that movie.
All of these movies were
good. Yeah.
Like, they were all good.
Also, Tree of Life rips as well.
God, I did really forget about that. I forgot about all these movies.
Like, the whole Birth of the Universe sequence in Tree of Life is just utterly incredible. And Douglas Trumbull. So like, nice to see him come back for some, abstract like birth of the universe sequence again.
That was a wild movie.
So my fun little personal story about that is in my Fox days, I used to have to check prints, like master prints, to make sure that the optical tracks were all good before they printed thousands of copies of them before they shipped. And I had to check. Part of that included watching the same movie like 7-8 times over the course of 3 days. I had to do it for Tree of Life. So I watched that movie so many times in the span of a short week. And when it got to Reel 2, there's just no sound in Reel 2. And so I was just like hitting the buzzer and be like, I think my sound dropped out. And then the technician would be like, no, it didn't.
I mean, stop doing this.
Copy that.
At least that's better than, imagine if you just had to watch War Horse on repeat.
God, I'm going to come clean. I don't think I watched War Horse. And I like horses. I like horses.
I'm a horse person.
I'm a bit of a horse girl myself.
But there's plenty of bad movies. I tried to get out of the real bad ones, but there's plenty of wonky film that I had to watch 7 or 8 times over 3 days. But none of them, after now that we've done the Tree of Life bit, none of them are the movie that we're talking about this week, which is again OSS 117, Cairo and Spies. First question. Was the first time you guys ever heard of this movie when I mentioned that we would be watching it this week on last week's episode?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so not on your lists.
No.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say this is a Clint-ass movie.
This is a Clint-ass movie. Now listen, I will say, like, I saw that in your eyes. I saw it happen last week, and I was like, oh, okay. And so watching the movie with not just watching it to enjoy it, but watching it with the express purpose of like, how do I justify this movie to these guys?
You don't know.
It was a very strange phenomenon. No, I had my fingers crossed you guys would like it. So I guess the second question, did you guys like it?
Yeah, it was fun. I laughed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't.
It's a funny movie.
I can't tell if it's good or bad that this came so close on the heels of The Naked Gun.
Bad. I think it was
In terms of like how you feel about it in context of this show. Like, we just got rid of Naked Gun.
I could just feel like the CineFix top 10 script in my bones, where you would just gush about The Naked Gun for a minute, and then he's like, but our number whatever pick is actually a smaller French film called OSS 117, Cairo Nest of Spies. And it's just...
Well, here's the thing. If you need to watch a list on YouTube to tell you all of the movies you've already heard of, then there are other places for that. That's not us.
I would say this is probably absolutely the most obscure movie we've talked about. Like, it's not nothing. But like, I don't know. I think a lot of people will be watching this movie for the first time, which is kind of cool and different. I don't know. But yeah, I think more so for me, like, it coming, because we've been watching a lot of funny movies. We watch like The Naked Gun, Anchorman, in my opinion, and I was just giggling and kicking my feet while watching both Anchorman and The Naked Gun.
I was crippled with pain, but let me also just throw in my 2 cents. I am also a big fan of Anchorman, and I would have been.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Another one for the
no,
cause.
Anchorman was in no danger of being cut. Yeah. But yeah, no, I do agree. Like that is something strange about watching OSS 117 right now, having just gone through 2 other spoof comedies. Like this is why. The algorithm's starting to get a little vindictive.
I'm just gonna say it. David Cronenberg didn't make the list, but.
And whose fault is that, Cal? You could have done that.
I did.
It's ours.
I have. We've talked at length of how we didn't collude for Cronenberg
before we understood the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
We now know the machine.
But OSS 117, Cairo Nest of Spies, is a top 100 film at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
Okay. All right. Hey, well, let me see what I can do. Listen, I mean, this is, you guys already said it. This is a Clint-ass movie. Like, this is, we can go ahead and skip ahead to the movie list section of this episode to say that the only one that this ended up on was my personal movie list. When we got to the 100th episode of Movie List, Billy and I, Billy, who's written Movie List for years, like, we were both like, let's just write what we like for a minute, like not a topic or anything like. And that this movie was the thumbnail of that particular episode. So yeah, this one's all me. This one is mine. Like I'm a big Bond nut, and this is just a pitch perfect Connery era Bond spoof. It's also like French. It's also super obscure, and that makes it feel like it makes it feel like it's mine. Like it's my little movie. And I think there's a lot of, I don't know. I get up in my feels about stuff like that, but I do the way that they produced it with all the fun little antiquated techniques that we can talk more about when we get into brilliant moments. Like there's nothing about this movie that doesn't speak directly to me and my sensibilities.
I think that's a really good kind of metaphor for the whole list, because we've talked about how there's a difference between favorite and best. Like no one was trying to do, like, I wasn't writing The Godfather 99 times. Like I feel like our lists are very, very personal. And I feel like maybe the reason this movie didn't resonate as hard with me as it did with you, Clint, is like, I'm not a huge Bond person. Like I watched them and I think they're good, but like, I don't consider it an integral part of my movie tastes. Which is also kind of weaving into what we've talked about spoofs before, is like, if you want to make a good spoof, make a good movie in that genre.
The second I realized that this is like just like the most Clint movie is when it cuts to the flashback of them playing on the beach like again and again and laughing.
Okay,
and,
that bit did get me.
Yeah, like that.
Those
bit,
flashbacks are incredible.
They're
so
very funny.
They are very funny, but I think that like speaks to exactly what I personally think your sense of humor is, which is like taking a trope and like subverting it and then just like running it into the ground because they use it a lot. And I don't even think
they do that a lot in this movie.
They do it a lot. I think there might be like 5 or 6 cuts to the beach, because like not only is it from the Bond, like the Bond analogs perspective, but it's also from Jack's perspective, and then the Nazis even have one.
So the Nazi one's very funny.
Yeah. So it's like
that that one's actually, I flagged that one as one of my brilliant moments.
Yeah.
There's something great about this movie, and I think where it really starts succeeding is when the moments it chooses to kind of drop the veneer.
Yeah.
Like it's plays everything straight right up until the point where they're mugging at the camera, and when and where and how it chooses to sort of lose the artifice of the bit that they're doing to play with like a more modern sort of comment on what's happening elsewhere in the scene or what had just happened or whatever. Like that's where this movie gets really, I think pretty clever. But like, especially when you layer on top of that the rear projection that they're using and the day for night that they're shooting with, and like the grain of the film and the production design and all of the things that are just so slick and 60s.
There was a lot of parodying of Islamophobia, and the fact that this movie came out in 2006, like that's kind of crazy that it's tackling that so close to 9/11, where there was so much Islamophobia. I'm like, that's a touchy topic for this silly little Bond spoof to take on.
It toes that line of like, are they making fun of Islamophobia and homophobia and misogyny and colonialism and all of that stuff? Are they making fun of that, or are they participating in that?
That's
I think it stays on the right side.
I think
it stays on the right side of the line.
Fun of it, because like it's being told from the perspective of someone who's like who isn't aware of what's going on. The dominoes just always fall his way, which is the humor of it. He isn't like intellectually engaging, and it's not fair or right or heroic in any way. It's just it's frankly upsetting in some moments, which is I think hilarious. If I can make an argument that I think it's very much aware of what it's doing, and like he has these like Islamophobic views, but it isn't necessarily the views of the film itself, is like when he doesn't he doesn't even realize he has the clues, and he just keeps on like handing the guy the like matchbooks, and like the matchbooks are the clues, and he doesn't realize it. So it's just like that is the lens through which these like jokes are being made, and it's very clearly through a lens of ignorance, which the film itself isn't.
It stays on the right side of the line for them. There's a moment or two that I think it might dance across it a little bit, more in the homophobia stuff. There's a couple of jokes that don't hold up, that you cringe at a little bit. But I think for everything that it took a swing at doing, to miss just a couple of times, like it's pretty good batting average.
No, and that's why I came out on like the side of like kind of respecting it, because I'm like, to tackle that in a 2006 Bond spoof, like it's something else. I don't know. My litmus test is like, who is the butt of the joke here? I think 90% of the time the butt of the joke was Hubert. Hubert, is that how you say it in French? Hubert.
Hubert, yeah.
It was him being like Michael Scott. Like that's how I like kind of use it as a litmus test. Are we laughing at him or with him? Usually we were laughing at him.
It's because he's so arrogant and ignorant and frank and dumb and bumbling.
He's very dumb.
Like you're sort of you're allowed to sort of to laugh at it. Like it throws a lot of a lot of the things that he's saying into that the correct perspective, which is like, this is a dumb way to look at the world and it's incorrect and we're making fun of it. But it starts very right off the bat. But I mean, do you guys want to just get into some brilliant moments?
Let's do it.
We've already touched on a couple, but let's do it. Let's get into some brilliant moments. I mean, I want to start with the cold open.
Yeah.
And frankly, even before we get to the cold open, the production logos, like they're old fashioned right from the start. It's not like a modern production logo that then gets into this is a 60s pastiche. Like they redid the logos to look like the 60s, which is great.
I will say the production design on this movie is like, again,
top
really,
notch,
yeah, really impressive.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? But doing the black and white sequence here at the beginning, and just the way that they leading all the way up to his introduction, the OSS 125, like at your service, and like that shot coming out of the shadows and taking the hat off, and like everything is from the look of the film, the texture of the film, to the setting of the film and the tropes that they're playing off of, right up to like the way the shadows play across his face when he takes the hat off. Like that movie, like I had read where Jean Dujardin and Bernice Burgeot both, like they studied, obviously he studied Connery and Eddie Constantine and those guys, and she was just like, I was just kind of doing a Grace Kelly impression the whole time, which is hilarious. I mean, that's okay, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The moment that really gets it to me is like right near the end, where he's like, if you had the plans in another case, like why did you refuse to give him the first one, like the fake one with the newspapers in it? And he's like, I'll never give in to barbarism. He's like, oh yeah, me too. It's just like stuff like that. That is, it's a goofy situation, and it's presented with this incredibly slick production design, and then to add the button of just that absurd kind of stupid, like these are the people that are out there doing this espionage shit, and they're dumb, they're idiots. It's great.
This just feels like it came out of Casablanca, right? Like from the cinematography to like the use of miniatures and stuff like that. It's just such a beautifully shot, like
no, it is. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Yeah,
flashback. Like even down to like the matte paintings and the miniatures and stuff like that. Like it all looks great.
I almost wish I didn't know that this was like a spoofy comedy before I watched it, because I would have liked to have seen when I clocked it, because like it's almost like jarring to have the stupid like dialogue on a scene that is actually really beautifully shot. I feel like it would have taken me like, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes to actually be like, oh, we're having fun here. We're doing a goof.
And again, I think that's one of the things that really works about this movie. And it's not a thing you see work often, right? Is like, committing to this bit of this is a movie from the 60s, but then deflating that with these like more modern sensibilities, and even like the number of trail off jokes in this movie are like, it's staggering. Like, and it starts here in the beginning where they're just sort of gradually tilting and laughing. Which, by the way, Jean Dujardin's laugh, like if you could somehow like bottle it and administer it as medicine, like I think we'd be in good shape.
He's so good at playing a dum-dum. It's great.
But what a lovely laugh and grin he's got. Like, it's just so.
Oh my God.
I believe they call those eating grins.
Oh, well,
Eating Grin.
We'll talk about it later because I have it on my list. But way at the end of the movie when he's watching the cat fight, and yeah, he has a full eating grin and just looks like an idiot. It's so funny.
I think it's a sharply written movie, right? Like the stuff that we've talked about, where like the issues that they're dealing with and the line that it kind of toes and everything. Like I think it's, it's a smarter spoof than Austin Powers, for example. Like Austin Powers is spoofing the same stuff, but from a very different perspective. But so much of what this movie does, and I think again, it's one of these movies where the cold open sort of teaches you how to watch the rest of the film. The pacing of the movie is so good and so important. Like so much of what's funny to me in this movie is there's the sharply written stuff and the dialogue that's very snappy. A lot of the humor lives in those little in-between bits, those facial expressions where he's sort of like kind of looking a little confused in between things, and you can tell he's not keeping up with his boss. Like the meeting between him where he gets the assignment to go to Cairo and he so clearly isn't following, but we see it in between the moments where his boss doesn't really see it because he's just like, yeah, bring peace to the Middle East. He's like, no problem. Those are the moments that really work in this movie that don't normally work in a lot of movies. Like it's, I don't know. And I think a lot of it is just, like you said about the cat fight at the end, with just watching Jean Dujardin's face change and react to things is half of why this movie is so funny.
I think he's just such a consistent character too. Like, I don't really think he goes through any growth throughout the movie, which isn't necessarily a criticism, by the way. You just kind of get trained. Like we talked about during the Naked Gun episode, how like a movie kind of trains you to like expect something. Again, not in a bad way. But I was kind of just trained throughout this movie to be like, oh my God, what dumb face is he gonna make? What dumb thing is he gonna say? Like, and it kind of made it fun to watch, like, because you know what to expect.
And to your point about like how good the writing is like you could tell it's like really sharp because it uses different mediums within the mediums to make jokes, right? Sometimes it's the camera work, sometimes it's the facial expression, sometimes it's the lines, sometimes it's the like scenery, right? Like, it's just like when they're driving up to the Suez Canal, it's just like a very, very Abrams, like Zucker Abrams joke of like Suez Canal, like the scenery shot. I think the moment that had me laughing, like that I just thought was the funniest, is like the one moment where they're gonna have sex and then it just pans from them kissing to the roses and it holds on the roses for a second and then pushes up to the mirror, the camera realizes it sees them in the mirror, and then it
also,
quickly goes
the
back.
Shot that
but not only does it see him
like
in the mirror,
he's like a bear on her or something. Like,
yeah, he's like trying to get his pants off real hard.
It's not graceful. It's just
And then even the camera like does a double take as it goes back. But that kind of meta stuff is funny. Like it does all the things, right? Like and you don't mind it doing all the things because they all work,
Yeah.
Because that's not a trope of James Bond. Like Bond movies didn't, like the camera didn't mess up in Bond movies, but like that's just a very specific joke to what's funny right now. It's like, oh, it'd be funny, like we'll put a mirror there and like but it's one of those jokes too that I wonder what I wonder at what point they thought to do that. Like, did they dress the set and realize that they could do that, and then decide to make it? That feels like, you know what? Let's get one more, and here's what we're gonna do. And like, it's another one of those hallmarks of all the spoofs that we really like. Of just like, how many jokes can you put on frame? Don't leave any jokes on the table if we're going to the next scene.
OSS 117. Pour vous servir.
J'aurais dû m'en donner chase!
You also have stuff like Larmina's dad's paddleball game sort of factoring into the plot.
Oh my God.
In a weird way.
I just remember the one time where she was like, if only he didn't play paddleball. Like, that was very funny.
the one bit of goofiness that she has,
Yeah, that's very true. That's like her one bit of goofiness. She's a very like smart, serious character.
But that also just plays into the bit, right? Because that's like one of the games that literally everybody's playing on the beach.
Even the Nazis.
Should
we talk about the flashbacks?
Yeah.
So every time my son, my younger son, has his best friend is named Jack. And every time he talks about, like, he whines about like wanting to, it'll be like, we're going to bed, and he's like, can I go over to Jack's? I'm like, it's 9:45. Like, no, you can't go over to Jack. And I, in my brain, I hear Jack. Like, it's just, Jack. But the way that they use these flashbacks and the way that they go into like just this rose tinted memory of him playing paddleball on the beach with Jack, and it's so funny, and like even the way that they escalate how they're laughing at each other too. Even the what really kills me about this scene is at the very end when Jack goes, oh, like he does this little jump and then they start chasing each other. It's it's so silly and so over the top just to watch these two men like wrestle on the beach, and so hilariously homoerotic for the stuff that's going to come up later with him getting very sensitive about like, you know, insinuations that he's gay. Those flashbacks, the way, and they kind of come out of nowhere. Like the first one sets it up, and then the every other time it's like there's that random sort of slow sort of push into remembering Jack, which is great.
And then there's the Nazi one, which also really got me.
Yes.
For some reason, I didn't see that coming. But like to jump all the way ahead to the end of the movie, the one that made me laugh the most was actually Jack's perspective. And yeah, Hubert just being such a jerk. Like at that point, you kind of expect it. But his
suck.
like jerky little like, haha, you're terrible at this. That was very good. Also, their French laughs. They're so French.
And then even when Jack dies at the end, like they cut to the one where he's watching Jack walk into the ocean. It's just like, it's so good. They go back to it one too many times, but I don't mind it even a little bit.
It's just enough. No, and I also love anything that kind of makes fun of like the dead wife flashback trope. And this is very like dead wife flashback to me.
I got a list of things I like about this movie for days, but what do you guys like? What's another scene you want to talk about?
Can I say my favorite recurring trope in addition to the flashbacks?
Yes, please.
Was the chicken turning off and on the lights thing? Oh my god, that. Actually, I think that got the biggest laugh out of me. Was him every time it just cut to him looking like an idiot, just turning on and off, on and off.
Well, even in that moment where he spent the day at the office and he was just kind of straightening up and like learning about the business or whatever, and then he's like all of a sudden he gets an idea and he hustles out of the room, and then it's just the lights going on and on.
Don't forget also he sees the pin on the string, which is also just like the racquetball kind of thing, so it's just like like they're like cats. They're just perpetually just entertained by like, you know, like a thing bobbing on a string.
Yeah.
I love the character of Silmain. Silmain, is that how you say it?
Slimane.
Slimane. But like that line that he had, because we're watching it right now, but that line that he has where he's just so ignorant. He's like, how many kids do you have? 8, 9? And he's like, 2.
Later, he tries to give him a few bucks and says, buy your kids some shoes. And he's like, they're studying at university in New York.
They're in New York. That might be
It's such a fun choice to undercut. I mean, it's another thing. It's like it undercuts Hubert at every turn. Like every possible moment to make him look dumb or arrogant or you know what, just awful. Like they do. Like the scene where he talks to the Rais Nasser, and he's smoking the hookah and says some of the most awful stuff.
That was also on my list. That was
which also. Wait, how does the king's niece is like, oh, the way she's a real fishmonger's wife. That's just a funny turn of phrase.
And the funny thing is, he starts that scene strong, where he's like, oh yeah, like I know, I forget exactly what he says, but I think he speaks a little Arabic to him.
Speaks in Arabic, yeah.
Yeah. And the guy's like, oh my God, what an honor. I'm smoking hookah with you as a peer, not as like, and then, he immediately screws it up within 30 seconds. Also, the way that he keeps puffing on it, like so inconsiderately, and he looks like such an idiot. And he's just like so unaware.
Especially by the time it ends with like, it's time to grow up. And he takes another, like he just keeps shrugging about it. Like But again, that's another one of those examples of like all of those in between the lines moments that Jean Dujardin just nails in this movie. Like it really sells everything. Like because I'm trying to think of if he wasn't so hammy in between the lines and all of his reactions showing the confusion and showing the like you know, the arrogance and all of that stuff that you need to frankly be around this guy. Like if he doesn't do all of that, like, and it's just the lines, as sharply written as they may be, like I don't think the movie's watchable. You know?
No, that's how I felt the entire time. I was like, I really don't like this guy. He is an idiot. He is clearly like racist in certain ways. He's homophobic. He's not like, and yet like it really sells the idea that this guy isn't so much malicious as he is just an idiot. Like there's nothing going on in his brain, and I feel like that's what makes the movie watchable and not just you're rooting for the villain the entire time. He's also very good looking.
Oh, dude, some of the sex
He's
humor,
a handsome guy.
Yeah,
he's a handsome dude.
Some of the sex humor is just like cracks me up, and they do it like both ways too, right? Like when like he ties her up, and then she's just like she's just like, let's have sex. And he just like casually sits down and starts like taking off his holster and untying his shoes.
Slowly
just, like,
taking off his watch.
Yeah, just like taking his time. Or then like the sexual innuendo with the gun.
Oh my god. So stupid.
Loaded, unloaded. Loaded,
Well,
unloaded.
I can't remember her name. The princess is a character that cracked me up too, because like I don't even get the idea that he's that good in the sack, given like the shot of we saw him trying to take his pants off. But like every scene, she's just like, and he's like, I don't know. She's so entranced by him, which is so funny to me.
There's also like the argument to be made too, like in this scene where he's load, unload. He's not even like his character isn't even aware of the sexual innuendo he's making.
No, he's talking about his gun.
Yes.
He's very specifically talking about his gun. He's not talking about his dick.
Yeah.
He's talking about his gun. Like, he does not get it. As representative as he is of an entire sort of ethos, right? Like a whole, and I mean, I read a little bit about, people talking about how it's decently representative of the French attitude, colonial attitudes at the time. So I don't know anything about that, but like, the idea that, he is so dumb and he represents all of the dumb things that Western countries do to the Middle East, particularly in this instance, like all of it is stupid. And like, how absurd is it that with the arrogance with which we approach other cultures, right? And all of that is OSS 117, and the fact that he's just a child, a bumbling child, which, by the way, the first time that he mentions President Coty.
I forgot about that's a great bit too. Just
He's
handing out the card.
He's handing out pictures of President Coty and like did you tell Coty? And like even like he's such a little boy. Like he's such a bumbling little child, like whimpering about Coty, and it's so fun. And that's like a little thing. When the first time that we meet him, when he gets the assignment at that lunch scene with his superior, and everybody's talking about the Middle East. He's like, even Coty, and he looks up at the picture, and there's the fanfare, and you can tell that he's just drunk on President Coty, and it's in such a childish and foolhardy way. It's so good, and it sets up a lot of. It's an excuse, right? It excuses a lot of the bad shit that he says later.
It wasn't subtle before this, but the line where it becomes very clear that that's like a big part of what the movie is about is when they're at like kind of the dance scene, and Larmine, I'm probably saying that wrong too. Larmina, she's saying, "Oh, I don't drink. It's not part of my religion. I'm Muslim." Yeah, and he's like, and he says something ignorant, and she's like, "You're so French," and he says, "Thank you." Like that encapsulates it perfectly.
Très français, en fin de compte.
Merci.
Another reason why this movie works is pairing him with someone who's much smarter than him.
Yes.
I think if he had been paired with someone who was just eye candy or was just like a more, I don't know, conventional Bond girl, it wouldn't have worked. But her just outsmarting him at every turn, I think makes it so much more watchable.
The princess sort of serves that other function, right? The Bond, the basic Bond girl function of just like, here's a femme fatale. And like, even the way that we as a, movie going public treat a femme fatale is absurd. Like, look at how silly this old, trope as old as film is. Like, it's dumb. It's ridiculous that this is part of our movie language, But then Larmina being the one that's largely driving the plot, like she's leaving clues behind. She's way more active than Hubert is.
I think she's the hero of the movie personally. Like
for sure.
Like at the big twist where she double crosses him, it's like, damn, I'm rooting for her to get out of this one. I don't give a crap about him. Like, and again, like that's what I think kept me through the movie was her. The other thing that made me laugh, but also like annoyed the crap out of me, was every time she would like lay out the plan to Hubert, and he would be like, "What? That's a great idea I've just had," and then he'll just repeat it. But she just kind of like sits there and smiles and knows that she's smarter than him. That's very good.
They turn it around a little bit by the end when like she corrects them about the there's 3 guys all with the torn jalaba, another jalaba, and she's like, well, I think it's probably the same jalaba. And he's like, the same jalaba for 3 people. I think it's more likely that it's just one person. Like the way that, so they do sort of riff, they twist the joke around a couple of times, but yeah, it is another one of those wells that they keep going back to. But Cal, you know what the scene that I'm gonna demand that you love is the one about smoking.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I was
the
thinking
thank you
of
the thank you I'm trying to start. It kills me, this not smoking.
Yeah. It's that was such a great bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like during the hookah scene, when he's like, well, I guess I'll be happy to start smoking again for this. As we've established, smoking is cool.
It is cool, yes.
Smoking is cool. But that first bit where she offers him a cigarette, he's like, no, I don't smoke, never developed a taste. And he's like, oh, it's too bad. It's like, yeah, I know, I'm trying.
It's also like the French of it all. I don't know. It's such a French bit.
Can we talk about the Nazis a little bit?
Yeah,
sure.
let's talk about the Nazis a little bit.
That scene in the pyramid.
Yeah.
It's got that flashback. The idea that the Nazi guy has the same homoerotic flashback of his best friend is so perfect. Like they have the exact same memory of their dead best friend. Like that, and that's a thread that you can pull on for a while because the two of them like share that moment. It's like, oh yeah, no, that was a good mission. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. They've got more in common than Hubert has with anybody else in the movie, right? Which I think is an interesting, like that's another. This guy's not great. Like he's not a good guy. Like he's just dumb.
Well, what also made me laugh about this whole sequence is how incompetent everyone is. It just feels like every single group of people in this movie is so incompetent. Like even the Eagles of Cheops, or however you say it.
Yeah.
But everyone's just doing dumb stuff, except for really Larmina. Like she's the only person who's not a complete freaking idiot in this entire movie.
Every new person that we meet that does something stupid makes Larmina look that much smarter.
Again, she's the hero of this movie. You know what? Like in Anchorman, how we said that it was Veronica Corningstone against the world. I'm gonna say it's Larmina against the world for this one.
Larmina against the world in this one?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
But this scene, the physical comedy in this scene too, is really incredible. When he tries to pull the Nazi flag down and ends up ripping it in half, like just little things like that.
There's a lot.
And
of
then just the
comedy,
really mild scheisse that he kind of under his breath as he keeps trying to pull it down. It's just that's one little bit of physical comedy that it could have been like on the day that wasn't supposed to happen. Like that's a joke that like feels like it could have been meticulously scripted and they could have scored that flag just perfectly to rip like that, or like it was a complete accident. It's hard to tell.
But even like before the when we're in the pyramid, like when they're like kind of just like riding across the desert, it's such a gorgeous shot too. That's the other thing that's so funny about this movie. Even if you're not laughing, it's usually pretty to look at.
Yeah.
The craft of this movie, and particularly of sort of doing an imitation of a different era of filmmaking, the way that the colors kind of washed out, the film stock looks right. You know, those we don't get those colors anymore. Like
No.
it's, and you know, even the globe in the airport, that sort of production design, it's so kitschy and mod, and like it's the detail, the care that it went into making this look like a 60s film is so good.
Like if I didn't know, I don't know that I would know.
Exactly. Any other scenes you guys want to talk about before we talk about the scene where he starts playing in the band?
The day for night chase. That's Jack, right? That stabs that guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he's just dressed like a druid or a Jawa, just like
Druid, I like that.
just like the most obvious, and like runs like Ghostface away.
The way that Hubert punches his way out of this
When he
cocktail
doesn't
party
need
is
to.
also
Oh my
It's
God.
so good. And then it's just like the day for
perfect.
night. Like it's just so obnoxiously day for night, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And that he gets lost and he just starts running in the circle. Like just so many good visual gags in this bit that I very much appreciate.
Also, just before this, another great visual gag is when he just starts dancing by himself after he's done dancing with Larmina. Not like a thought going on in that brain.
There's a couple of moments where somebody tells him to do something and he forgets immediately and then just kind of stares off into space. And this was one of those moments too where it was just like, come on, let's go talk to those people. And he doesn't go and then kind of forgets where he is and just starts dancing. Going back to that day for night foot chase too, like the way that the the pace of it kind of changes. It de-escalates, right? Like there's some crash zooms at the start, which are very, very big hallmark of the, action stuff from the 60s. There's the, the poses and, they're going back and forth and looking, and then just like the music kind of fades out and the zooms kind of stop. And he starts running a little bit slower, and then you can hear him out of breath, and he passes the same guy a couple times. Like the way that they slow play the reveal of like we know he's lost before he does, which is another thing that I think this really works with this scene, which is the point. Like everybody knows everything before he does. To end it with the guy giving him directions, and to not subtitle that part of the movie, I think is a really good choice too.
Okay, it's funny you say that because I was wondering if that was just an error on my Tubi stream.
Tubi? No.
Because they do that a couple times in this movie too.
And also him counting to 5 and being
That's
super worried about being able to count to 6.
And he goes, 6?
And then he gets
That's
whipped 6 times and he doesn't know what to do about it. Yeah.
That's a good bit.
All good bits.
Comme ça. 6.
It's funny too because I do wonder like with the way he like posed in a lot of these scenes, I feel like he would probably be actually a good Bond, but he completely missed his shot to be Bond by doing this movie. Like he could never play.
Well, and he's French, right? Like
yeah. That too.
OSS 117 was the French version of Bond that was actually written. The first books were written a couple years before Ian Fleming wrote Bond. Dude wrote something like 200 OSS 117 novels, and they made OSS 117 movies throughout the 60s and 70s with a bunch of different actors. And the same way that they did Bond, it was just the French version of Bond.
That's crazy that I feel like I've never heard of OSS 117 period before this. I'm not French, so I don't know how I would have, aside from watching this movie and Googling it afterward. This is so random, but like, do you remember how you came onto this movie?
I saw it in the theater, and I want to say it was playing at the New Art or maybe the Landmark there that was in that mall on Pico. It was really one of those things where I think I was just walking and I saw the poster and I went in and watched it.
That's so funny.
It might have been that simple if I remember right, but I do remember seeing it in the theaters and the sequel too. The line that this movie toes really well, the sequels don't tow it quite so well. They made one called Lost in Rio that came out just a couple years after Cairo and of Spies, and it wasn't bad. But then they made one just 2 years ago. They made a third one. Azanavicius directed Lost in Rio. He directed the first 2, but didn't direct the most recent one, and it just looks like a modern film.
Got it.
That's annoying.
That's not what I need out of my OSS 117. Thank you very much.
I had brought up the cat fight just with his eating grin. Aside from the comical clothes tearing off, it's actually a pretty well choreographed fight. That's the other thing that's funny about this movie. Like, it's gorgeous. The fights are surprisingly well choreographed. It's a good spy movie in its own right.
Before we get back to the ending, though, I did want to talk about that first fight scene in his hotel room.
Yeah.
Which is just so perfectly, again, Connery era Bond fight scene. The random chop to the neck, and then the start to throw him in one shot, and then cut to a guy just trampolining across the room. all of that stuff is so good. And even the princess looking bored halfway through the fight.
That was good.
That kind of thing.
Really good.
They do the imitation of the 60s film to start with, and then they get far enough into it where we've got the mileage out of this joke, and then now we're gonna put our finger on how silly it is and cut away to the princess who's just looking at the camera basically and being like, okay, come on.
It's funny too because with the fight at the end, it starts with the most ridiculous image of the two women as a ball, and they just tumble down the stairs. Oh my god, that's so good.
Well, it comes right out of that Jack walking into the ocean memory, and by the time Hubert comes back to that, what brings him out of it is hearing the
tumble
fighting off to the side. I love that de-escalation of just he's at first hey, cut it, enough, that's enough, stop, and then slowly, oh come on, cut it out, guys,
stop it.
Just that slow, no, I'm gonna let this happen, and he's just I do love another thing that he does throughout the movie is he's always looking around to see if anybody else is watching.
when he knows
Like,
no one else is there for this.
Yeah,
scene.
he's always looking around and trying to see if anybody else is watching, or maybe like in some instances, I bet he's looking around to see if he can take cues from somebody. He's just trying to figure out what's going on, like. But
Like, how should I be reacting to this?
if you've ever seen From Russia with Love, that's the one where Bond ends up in like a gypsy encampment, and there are two women fighting over a man in that one, and it's more or less this.
I talked about it earlier, but I think this is his Eating Grin at its best. Like, there's one shot where it just closes up on him, and he looks so stupid. There is not one brain cell doing anything at that moment. It's so funny.
I think the best example of it is the oud scene where he picks up the instrument and starts playing in the band. And the best scenes in this movie, you can see there's a direct like cause and effect of his idiocy.
Yeah.
Right. Like in that scene where he's playing the song, he's just kind of walking. He's lingering forward, trying to eavesdrop on Larmina's conversation with the imam. And he just kind of finds himself out in the middle of the room, and everybody just kind of looks up at him expectantly. And then that's why he starts playing the song. So like that, there's that straight line that you can draw from him being a dumbass to some of the funniest moments in the movie. And I like that. Those are the scenes where it really works. And this is another one. The cat fight is another one where it's just like he's checked out and just enjoying watching these two women beat the hell out of each other to the point where by the end he accidentally kills one of them. Which is,
but it's fine.
It's bizarre. It's fine. Nobody seems super worried about it. She's just like, let's go. We got to catch that boat.
I mean, truly, ignorance is bliss as a character. Just dumb and happy for 90% of this movie.
Does he count as a dirtbag, Cal?
Oh.
No, not really.
You need more intention to be a dirtbag.
He's too well dressed, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's
too clean.
He is very clean.
Yeah.
B, he's official operative of a government. Like he's a government entity, and like I like smart dirtbags. I do think that there is an element of street smarts and intelligence that goes into a dirtbag. At least my kind of dirtbag. Like Rizzo from like Midnight Cowboy is a perfect like.
Definitely thought you were talking about Grease for a second,
No.
but
Like Dustin Hoffman.
Her too.
Yeah, him
yeah,
too.
she kind of is a good dirtbag, actually.
Like there has to be an element of street smarts to it, and a lack of polish.
You gotta be able to hustle.
Yeah.
He's actually I would argue he's like the opposite, the anti dirtbag.
Yeah.
Like an idiot who doesn't mean to do anything that everything works out for. Dirtbags have schemes layered on schemes, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, like
Okay, well I'm glad we sorted that out.
Yeah, I don't think he's a dirtbag.
Yeah.
Again, this was a strange way to watch this movie for me, where suddenly I was watching it thinking like, I'm watching this with a mind to defend it, because like I could just see it. Your whole energy were just like, I don't know what the this movie is. I said it last week, which I was like,
I feel like you watched it this week. It's like you got to choose your last meal, and as you're eating your last meal, you're like, is this really? Should this really have been my last?
Is this
meal?
really my last meal?
Yeah.
Listen. Of all the last meals that I could choose, this would probably be in my top 100.
No, there's a certain agony of like showing your friend a YouTube video or something that you think is really funny, and you just see their like straight face. It's like, oh well.
Yeah, that's usually what happens when Dan sends me a YouTube video.
We've never laughed at anything Dan has done. Yeah. But I think we all have those movies. Even outside of the four of us, if you're counting Dan, which I don't know why you would. Yeah. But we all have those movies on our personal list where it's like, oh, like this is my movie. Maybe it not be for you, but like. I have some of those in my top 20 that it'll be fun for me.
Well, listen, this was be nice to my Clint-ass movie.
I really hope this is also on Dan's list. Like after we've spent an hour talking about how it's your movie, it's also on Dan's.
We shall see.
I can't.
I doubt it. I doubt it is.
Yeah.
So let's talk about movie lists. We already did, so it's going to be a short version of this. This was just on my personal top 10 movies of all time list, which. Don't let that video inform, what my top 100 was, because I think it's different. We got to write these movie lists with like categories and stuff. So it wasn't technically my top 10. And then I did another video where we used to do a show briefly called Like It, Love It, where we took a movie that everybody knows and then a movie that maybe not so many people know and smooshed them up. And this one I compared very favorably to Austin Powers. If you like Austin Powers, you'll love OSS 117, which I will say, OSS 117 way smarter than Austin Powers.
I really did grow up with Austin Powers, and they were like some of my favorite movies growing up. I don't know if they would hold up if I watched them. I haven't watched them in ages.
Don't worry, not many have.
Yeah.
Those are movies that I'm just like, I'm gonna let them live in my memory and remember going to see it and running. I went straight home and rented So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Does that movie still hold up? I just remember.
So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yeah.
I didn't like it near as much watching it immediately after Austin Powers.
He's got a big head, like an orange on a toothpick. I don't know why that joke has just stuck with me for like 20 years.
Sometimes they do that.
Yeah.
Go, you've stayed your hour. It's one of Mike Myers' 5 jokes.
Yeah.
He's got five jokes that he tells in different accents.
Shout out to Shrek.
But that was it. I mean, listen, if we ever get around to doing a spoof movie list, obviously I'll have to demand that this show up on there.
I don't think it has a lot of competition in the spy spoof genre.
The spy spoof genre, no. I mean,
It'd really be that in Austin Powers. Yeah.
Top secret.
And like,
Yeah.
Get Smart.
Actually, there's more spy spoofs than I thought.
I feel like we're missing one.
I'm sure we are.
I mean, it's so specific, right? It's such a hyper specific subgenre thing that what this movie's doing. So like, I don't. It's hard to kind of put it in other.
Actually, I think you did a pretty good job of putting it in a list. Spoofs.
Top 10
Yeah.
hyper specific subgenres.
Yeah. Spy.
Yeah.
Spoof. Boom.
Shall we torf?
You know, there's not a lot, but we'll torf.
There's no torf.
True or false?
Can't even torf about my
No,
movie?
we've got
This
a
was
couple.
on Dan's
I feel
list.
like I feel like you guys are like really looking into my underwear drawer here with this movie, and we can't even muster a proper torf segment for me.
We've got 3, one of which you kind of touched on, but we've got 3. Damn it! Poor Tayo was like, "This
Should
is
I
a
sit
tough
this one out? No, I understand.
No, the first one's interesting. The German title of this film, OSS 117, Der Spion der Schutz lebt. Yeah. German is a play on the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me. True or false?
True.
Ooh.
Come on, Ty. I
probably
got to dig a
true.
little deeper than that. I also have read the IMDb trivia page for this movie.
Okay, but what does it translate to?
The Spy Who Loved Himself.
Damn it. It's funny, though. Oh, wait, he's...
It's a good one.
just says, that's all I could find. I was like, I tried my best, damn it.
You gotta
You're
comb
crushing
through
it,
the
Ty.
director's commentary. You gotta learn French, then you gotta listen to Michel Hazanavicius talking about it for 87 minutes.
Okay, we got a second one, and this one will trick you. The film was actually filmed in Egypt. True or false?
The film was actually filmed in Egypt.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with false. But actually, no. I'm going to go with true. I think that Suez Canal shot is real.
I have no. I'm gonna go false just to go false. I bet. I don't think it is. False.
You're right, Clint. It was mostly shot in
But-
Morocco. No,
Okay.
but it was mostly shot in Morocco. Scenes of the film were shot in Casablanca, Morocco, at the Habous, a tourist area with many shops as well as homes with small alleyways.
Better tax incentives in
Yeah.
Morocco.
It's true.
And you touched on this earlier, Clint, but I'm going to still say it anyway. It's based on a series of satirical spy novels written by French writer Jean Bruce.
False. They weren't satirical.
You got it, buddy. Crushed it.
They were legit spy novels.
They were legit spy novels. His original OSS 117 starred in over 265 novels. That's a lot.
You wrote a ton of them.
God, that's
Wow,
prolific.
he's really churning them out there.
just churning them out.
Clive
my
Cussler amount of
God,
novels
for
there.
real.
Real Clive Cussler of
Yeah.
French spies.
That's so
spy
many
novels.
novels. That's a sad torf. Session of torf.
Sad session of torf. Listen, it's okay. I'll take my ball and go. I'll take my paddle ball and run into the ocean.
Maybe you should have written the Torf, and Cal and I should have.
I
done the true or false.
I should have.
That would have been better. I feel.
Because I saw this coming. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew nobody knew what the hell
Even
this
when,
movie was.
when Tayo DM'd me the doc, I was like, yeah, I figured this one would be a struggle.
Well, who's your MVP? I mean, it's got to be Jean Dujardin.
Yes.
It without question.
Yes.
I feel like I blew my spiel for why he's the MVP earlier, when it's just like all of those little in between moments where like all of his reaction shots, all of his grinning idiocy in between the lines, and his line, like some of those, when it just chuckling, do you really know how much a million is? Like, all of that stuff is so, if it's less skillfully done, like the movie's frankly uncomfortable to watch.
That's what I'm like. It would be actively bad if you didn't have someone perfect in that role. And I'm like,
it
trying
would feel
to
like
you're watching
like
the villain.
writer saying all that stuff instead of the writer making fun of all of that stuff.
Yeah, like the fact that that he's a complete goddamn idiot is, I was like even trying to think of anyone else in that role, like French or not, and I can't picture anyone doing it better.
No, I mean, you said like there's flavors of it, right? Like you brought up Michael Scott earlier. Like he's one of the better unintentional awful people in a lot of ways. He's just really good at it.
If I had to pick a number 2 though, it would be I should have written the actress's name down and I didn't, but the woman who played Larmina, I liked her a lot.
Bernice Bejo, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
And
I would have mispronounced it.
For Academy Award winner Bernice Bejo? Didn't she win for The Artist?
Oh my God, it was all of them in that movie.
Because she
might have.
Yeah, no, it was all 3 of them.
Wow.
I think she and the director are married or were married in real life.
She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for The Artist. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna go watch The Artist again. I think
it is really funny that this led to a Best Picture movie, like a Best Picture winner 5 years later.
Yeah,
Best Picture winner.
Yeah,
winner. And not in like the Jack Palance, Marissa Tomei way. Like in the they jumped up there and got it. Cal, you want to do one more segment before we talk about where this movie ranks?
Who would Nicolas Cage play in this movie? I guess
the Nazi for me.
Ooh, Nazi's a good one. I would have done Jack.
Nazi, yeah, that's who I was
going to. That would have been good. Jack would have been good.
I would have put him as Jack.
He would have been very funny as that.
The Sean Bean role.
Yeah.
I'd keep him as the Nazi just because there are physical similarities between he and Jean Dujardin that I think some of that, like him and the Nazi having a lot in common, weirdly would like play better with a guy that actually sort of looks like him too. I think that would have been a really funny choice.
I was considering Hubert if in an alternate universe where Nicolas Cage is French.
I mean, just this movie in English. Everything's the same except they're speaking. Like, does Nick Cage pull off OSS 117?
I think he could. I don't know if it would be better, but I think he could.
Yeah,
I don't know that he would. I don't know that he would be my first choice.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's Nicolas Cage.
In fairness to Nicolas Cage, he could do anything.
We've established he can do anything. Exactly. Yeah, but I don't know that I would do that. I'd keep him as the Nazi. I think him as like a weirdly affable Nazi. This would be a funny choice.
It would be. I like Jack though. I like the Nazi better, but Jack is an interesting choice as well.
I think those are the 2.
Yeah.
All right, guys. How high is this on your lists?
I'm just gonna say it. It's not on mine.
Not on mine.
Not on your list.
No.
This movie that you heard of for the first time last week when I said we'd be watching it this week.
I always feel bad about spoiling it.
I watched it and then I still didn't put it on my list. So yeah, no, it's not on my.
We can't do that. Oh, so it's not a Sunset Boulevard for you. You wouldn't. Yeah.
What? Sunset Boulevard was on my list.
Yeah, but my Sunset Boulevard is Sunset Boulevard because I didn't have it on my list.
Yeah. Clint's too.
Yeah.
In a way, we all have our own El Guapos.
Yeah.
Because I'm never gonna not invoke Three Amigos. Well, Dan did not have it on his, so this is
top
indeed
20.
a Clint-ass movie. Oh, it's a top 20. Yeah, it's my number 12.
12.
Whoa.
So that's like
Yeah.
what, 2 above
where-
Independence Day?
Yeah, where does that get you?
2 or
on
3. Yeah, where did I have Independence Day?
All right.
Number, I think I had Independence Day 14 or 15.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
I mean, listen, like I was saying earlier, I get really romantic about the movies that hit me at exactly the right moment. And this
one did it.
This movie is most of all of my sensibilities all rolled into one tidy little package.
We all have those, man.
Yeah.
I had to sit in this exact position months ago, maybe a year ago, and defend Robin Hood. It's going to come for us all.
Yeah, but you managed to keep Robin Hood on the list.
Yeah, that was not fair.
It's still
I'm still mad about
different
it.
season, different rules,
Showed up in the wrong season.
Blame Dan, because Robin Hood could have been.
Right.
Well, no, actually, Robin Hood couldn't have been
I
alone
think it
against
could
the
have
world,
been.
because he's not alone
You
against
know
the
what?
world. He's got all.
Just open. Yeah, no, he's got a whole band of
He's
merry
got
men.
a-
Just
yeah.
open the envelope and let us know like what you're gonna. Let me know what you're kicking off.
let me just see here. It is. What do you guys guess what this is?
So
Because
12.
I'll tell you what,
Top
it's
20.
not 117 where it. I would.
That would be fun.
I would be.
Which
more
is a
ex-
real shame.
Yeah.
This is why AI is not going to take over our jobs, because that would have taken some creative work. What was Naked Gun was your number
Oh, it was
20,
100.
and it was 100 even. So this is number 12. I'm going to say that's good for 15 slots. I'm going to say 85.
Okay.
I was going to say 80. I think that's a solid range.
She fucking nailed it.
80.
Yeah.
Got it.
God,
the
I
money.
finally got
Good.
one on the money.
On the fucking money.
I think this is
On
the
the-
first time in
Yep.
like 40 something episodes. I
All
actually,
After
feels good, man.
On the
episode after episode, getting
Great.
close.
And I'm always like
Finally.
one or two
money. All right,
off.
so we're there. 80. We did
Yeah,
it.
go
We
ahead.
Got it. You
Yeah.
got it. All right. Let's figure out what the new
Go
80
ahead.
is going to be.
who's using their
Let's just figure out what the new.
Wait.
Let's just figure out what the new.
Who's
80 is.
using their? I'll use my strike. I'll use it. I'll
We'll rock
sacrifice.
paper scissors. Loser
Okay.
uses
Okay,
the
that's
strike.
fair.
Don't- hey, listen, guys, don't fight about who gets to cut my movie in front of me, okay? Give me a break.
I do feel
Come
kind of bad
on.
because you do love this movie, and like I was thinking about it before the episode,
And
I
you
was
guys are like, no, let me do it. No, I want to do
I
it.
do want to strike something this season.
Like, I know I'm
okay.
remote, but I'm
This
right
is-
here.
This is an Alex strike. I will
No.
reserve my strike.
No, but I feel I was
You're
thinking
saving your strike?
Yeah, I'll save my strike.
this was not okay. Let me explain myself.
You
might
ha-
have.
listen, I
No,
get it.
I'm still gonna explain
he
myself.
gets it.
I'm still gonna explain myself. I think if we didn't have so many good comedies on the list already, like truly, as I said, I was giggling and kicking my feet watching The Naked Gun and Anchorman and even Three Amigos. May she rest in peace. I think we have a lot of good comedy picks on the list, and if we're gonna add another, let's make it a banger. And I say this as a big comedy person.
So this is not that banger.
It's not that banger. I'm sorry, Clint. I liked the idea of having a more obscure movie on the list too, but
Yeah.
it's
Hell
that
yeah.
it's that season.
So you're claiming the strike here.
I'm claiming the strike.
All right.
I'm gonna take it.
I hope all of your well, you don't get to play. Give that
Yeah.
a
Oh
little
my
back
God,
to
that's
Fred.
right. I
You don't get to
oh,
choose.
No.
Yeah, that's-
I forgot about that.
So I hope it's you know what? I hope it's nothing but your least favorite movies in this envelope.
I 100% will be.
Let's see here. What do we got?
Oh god, how much
don't even know if I
Cronenberg's
could
gonna be in there? You think?
You
Oh
know,
my
Wouldn't
God.
that be something?
Not that would honestly, that would be something. That would make.
Okay,
this
I'll make you a
entire-
deal right now. Before you even look at these, if any of them
if
are
there's
Cronenberg,
a Cronenberg,
it's on.
It's it.
Yeah.
Because again, we've
I'll
remarked
make that
many,
deal with you right now.
many times. We've remarked it's a fucking travesty that Cronenberg isn't on the list, and it's because we didn't.
That'll be
You-
that ought to be our next T-shirt. Is
Yeah.
colluding for Crony.
Oh, that's
It'll
cute.
be
oh
it'll
my
be
God,
the
it could be like a campaign.
it'll be
shirt.
the fly going into the TV.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
Here's what we got: planes, trains, and automobiles. Classic.
Okay.
That's
Taxi
comedy.
Driver. Classic. Ghost Dog. I guess that's a classic. This is actually a movie I haven't
Ghost
seen.
Yeah.
Ghost Dog.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jim
Okay.
Jarmusch. This
I haven't seen.
this
I saw it
feel-
when it came out. I
this-
couldn't tell you anything about it.
This feels Dan to me.
You know, I'm gonna
That's
tell you
a
it's not
Dan-ass
me,
movie.
so
Yeah,
that feels
like
Dan.
it feels like a Dan.
It feels it's certainly not me. So go ahead and
'cause-
toss it over your shoulder, because
Great.
all due
Good
respect to
God.
Forrest Whitaker and Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai.
and
like,
Jim
we've already
Jarmusch.
done Les Samurai.
Yeah. So
7 Samurai.
we just, we could just sniff out these Dan movies right off the bat.
So
Actually,
clearly a Dan movie. I don't even
I'm
wanna
willing
mess
to bet
with
that this is also a Dan movie, but I'm
Yes.
betting this is also on your list too, Clint. I
Yes.
bet this is a
I don't think it is.
a low double for that's a Clint Dan.
My first thought was that's a Dan-ass movie.
Yeah. And then finally, those damn dirty apes. Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Damn you all to hell.
I feel so powerless.
If you had to choose, what one would you choose?
Ooh.
So we can throw it out right now.
Yeah, that's
I know.
exactly what I
No,
was
I'm not
gonna
gonna
do.
say it now. Damn it! I'll say it
Help
after.
us narrow it down by telling us. No, I don't even want you involved that much, even on
No,
a jokey level.
this is too much.
So what do we got? We got Planes, Trains, Planet of the Apes, and Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
God, have we run into a Scorsese on the list yet?
Not
no,
yet.
but I can guarantee that there will be Scorsese's on the list.
You got one. You're Goodfellas. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
That's-
I got
that's
a couple.
way up there.
I got a couple up there. I think even Casino managed to eclipse my top 20.
Oh wow. Okay.
We're gonna have a couple of.
Scorsese will be represented. Okay,
Yes.
understood.
Yeah, he'll be on the list.
To be honest, I don't really care about any three of those movies. This is
Of these three movies that I hold in my hand, I will say that despite me agreeing that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is hilarious, it is the movie I have seen and come back to the least out of both of these two.
And also, like, I don't want to. I'm not about to say that's a better comedy than OSS 117 either. So you can get rid of it.
So we gone. All right. So
Get rid of that. What we haven't done a ton of, honestly, have we done much sci-fi?
We haven't done a lot of
We
sci-fi.
did They Live.
we did They Live.
Star
Live
Wars.
obviously counts.
We did Star Wars.
Star
we did
Wars,
Blade
yeah.
Runner.
Okay, we've had a few sci-fi.
So we've done a fair amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Warriors. Does the Warriors count? Not really.
Science fiction? No, I don't think so.
Near future dystopian adjacent science fiction. And we did Terminator. We got a lot of sci-fi. That argument's out the window.
Yeah, we got T2 in there, and we also have Independence Day.
Yeah.
And Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That is sci-fi,
We're good.
isn't it?
So we're good on sci-fi.
So,
How are we doing on New York dirtbags?
So we are light on New York dirtbags. I mean, and frankly, we should have been heavier on New York dirtbags, but somebody cut it.
We can do Taxi Driver if we have that much sci-fi on our list. But if we're gonna end up with like 5 Scorsese movies on the list, though, like I don't want to do that either.
Let's be real. We're not gonna. I thought we were gonna end up with 2, based on how high that I have Goodfellas. There's no way that that's not making the list. And
Sure.
right, this is on my list, but clearly it wasn't high enough to unambiguously
Wasn't high
make it.
enough to get on there.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Casino, which probably is going to be in the envelope next week. So, like, maybe there would have been one, because I don't think you don't strike me as a Raging Bull guy. I don't think you are a big Raging Bull fan. I don't think Dan's a big Raging Bull fan.
Dan's a huge Raging Bull fan.
I could see that also.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, he
could
does
see
throw
that.
his steak. He does
You know
throw his
what?
steak at his wife all the time. Just,
He's told me about that.
yeah.
Listen, I'm good with either, man. What do you think?
Damn it, Clint.
Neither of us are terribly passionate about any of this.
I actually
and I'm just sitting here mad about.
I honestly, this is a hard decision. You're making me choose between the things I love most: science fiction or New York dirtbags. I mean,
Yeah.
technically,
You should make that. They Live is kind of that movie a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie here. Technically, Planet of the Apes kind of a New York dirtbag movie, considering
Yeah.
That could be an interesting discussion. I'm just
Considering
saying.
the whole thing takes place in New
it's
York.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're all in New York.
Let's do Planet of the Apes.
All right, done.
That's
let's
what
do
I
Planet of the
wanted.
Planet
I
of the
feel
Apes.
like I feel
That's why I didn't say anything because I knew you wouldn't pick it.
I'm not upset. I love
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes.
No, it's fine. I mean, there's not many more
mean-
iconic things in movies. Full stop. As you blew it up. Damn you all to hell.
I don't know. Are you talking to me?
That is, yeah.
It's up there. I said there's not many more things.
I mean, there's one right here. Are you
There's
talking?
one right there.
Are you
also.
talking to me, or you blew it up? Are you
You blew it
talking
up.
to me?
I made my decision.
You blew it.
And I'll go with it.
You know what? I'm with you. Let's do apes.
All right. Well, you know what? Planet of the Apes. Welcome aboard. Whatever.
Wow.
God,
Wow.
I feel a little bad. Oh, I know you don't.
I have no.
No,
It's
fine.
such
It's
a
fine.
Clint movie.
Listen. We stroke
Listen.
Clint's movie for
Yeah.
one of my two. I feel no guilt here.
Fair.
Yeah, but I've lost 2 of my movies between this and Three Amigos.
I think I feel bad because I haven't lost any movies yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
Because I still have a strike.
Well, you still have a strike.
I'm so
Let's see what we
magnanimous
can do.
that I haven't used my strike yet.
Well, you know what? That's going to do it for us this week. I've had enough of this shit. Thank you for watching OSS 117, Cairo Nest of Spies with me, if only to completely dismiss it moments later. Just tripping over yourselves to kick this movie off the list.
I don't think it was a huge shock
Which is fine.
either.
Which is fine. I get it. No, I was fully expecting it. But thank you to the CineFix ambassador to France, producer Tayo Oyekan, arms dealers, technical producers Marhyan, Franzen, and Amir Rakib, chicken magnate DP Jamie Parslow, and you know what? I didn't even write a joke for Dan. I'm just.
He doesn't deserve it.
No thanks to Dan. You guys feel any different? He doesn't need any thanks, right?
No.
No, we're good.
No.
I think we did a good enough job throwing Ghost Dog on the floor.
Yeah.
But join us next week when we dive into another movie that's just a whole big bunch of pastiche, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yeah.
Hell
Back
yeah.
to Planet.
yeah.
We'll get back to Planet of the Apes eventually. We're going to do Kill Bill next week. But until then, stay safe, be good. We'll see you next time. I just tried to think of how to say goodbye in French.
Au revoir.
Is that au revoir?
Au
Au revoir.
Au revoir.